The start of every Disney cast member's time working for the mouse begins at traditions. Traditions! Every single Disney cast member is going to know traditions. Traditions is where they all start out. It's your orientation, your beginning, your first start at Disney, your first look inside the company. Traditions is where we all get our beginnings. And no, it's not Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof singing Tradition! Although there are parts of it that might feel that way. It is actually your very first day working for the Disney company. And working at Walt Disney World as a PhotoPass photographer was no different. When you're first hired at Walt Disney World, or Disneyland, or any other part of the Disney company, you're of course given some pre-orientation things. You're given a clearance form to sign off for your background check because the vast majority of Disney cast members do get complete background checks. Yes, that is something Disney does to safeguard their guests. So after your background check sheet, you're also given another little packet, although today I think they may actually give it to you online or email it to you. And that is this little booklet called the Disney Look. And it's basically your dress code for how you have to dress when you're at Disney. At least if you're not in costume. If you're in your costume, which is your work outfit, then you wear that according to the guidelines they have. But otherwise, you've got to go by this Disney Look. And this is not just something they hand out to you and then say, no big deal. Now, you may not be able to tell, but it's actually several pages long. And this is just the guys' part for me, because I didn't need to worry about the ladies. That Disney Look actually comes in practice on your very first day. You get your phone call to show up to Traditions. Here's your day, here's your time, we'll see you then. And you've got to make sure you're in the Disney Look. Traditions is held actually out at Disney University. It's this big, large building out by Magic Kingdom. It's in the back area where guests are not normally going to see it. And it's filled with classrooms, meeting rooms, offices, and even a small cafeteria for the people that are there for the day. The very first thing you do when you walk in for your Traditions class, you check in, they make sure your name's on the sheet, and then you kind of wait in the hallway all lined up. And they actually go down the line and make sure that everybody is dressed according to the Disney Look. And if you are not in compliance, you could actually get sent home on that very first day. I believe they give you a second chance to get it right. But don't wear flip-flops to Traditions. You're not going to be able to stick around. It's not a way you want to start off. So yes, they will go through and make sure that you're wearing khakis or something besides jeans or shorts. Make sure that you're wearing a dressy shirt and that everything is covered and your hair is appropriate and your shoes are appropriate and the whole 9 yards. After they clear you, then they let you head on into the room and you get to sit down at these big round tables with a whole bunch of other people, and that's when the paperwork starts. Yes, there's a lot of fun with Traditions, but there is also a lot of legalities and other stuff that they want to cover while you're there. Sitting at your spot, you'll get a nice little book like this, and most people write their name up top, and I didn't write in mine very much. Now, this is considered proprietary information for Disney, so I'm not going to let you actually look inside of it, because, yes, I do still respect that. One of the things that we actually sign is a confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement, and I actually still have mine sitting here. I'll flash it later. But you get this, and it covers kind of your outline of the class and what you're going to go over. And after you do that, then you kind of get your first look at what working for Disney's like. Your teachers are generally two people, and they tend to be very energetic, exuberant, excited, happy. It's almost like a cheerleader on steroids and caffeine and sugar. It's kind of scary sometimes. And they come jumping in going, "Yay, you're at Disney! Woohoo!" Okay, calm down a little bit. But they tend to get everybody very excited, and you very kind of quickly get into this mode and mood that everybody else is in. They do some fun things. You do trivia contests and quizzes, and they try to do enough questions so that everybody can win, because when you win, you get a little prize. Mine was a little Simba figure that I ended up giving to my kids, and I have no idea what happened to it over the years. You do questions, you do fun, they do some get-to-know-you things, and then they begin to dig into the real purpose of the class. And that is to get to know Disney, to get to know their policies, procedures, and what you're going to have to be responsible for when you're there. They go through a whole history of the Disney company, starting pretty much from when Walt Disney did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, all the way to the founding of Disneyland, through the founding of Magic Kingdom and building up Walt Disney World, what its traditions are, what its values are, what the core company beliefs are, and they really want to infuse the whole company culture into you. That is a lot of what traditions is here is what is important to us. Here is what is important to you as a cast member that you need to know to be able to work with us. And one of the hugest things that really gets drilled into you is the 4 keys to guest service. And this is big, and you will get to know them so well that you should be able to rattle them off from memory within a short time after starting. And that is safety, courtesy, efficiency, and show. Not necessarily in that order. Safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. It's been how many years now, and I can still spit them out with the best of them. Safety, of course, is huge. And they actually give you a whole book on safety. You will very quickly learn the whole safe D, letter D, begins with me. And it's a whole slogan that they really drill into you because Disney doesn't want to have any safety issues. It's huge. And they will slide a little bit on the others because they would rather keep somebody safe and a little upset than injured. Although at all times you still want to maintain show, which is the image. You know, you're at Disney World, everything is great, make it look good, make it sound good. Put them into this imaginary world. In fact, Magic Kingdom's whole slogan is fantasy. And keep them in that. So if you can not let anything be seen that's a safety issue, you want to keep that. Keep up the show and the pretenses at all times. Courtesy, you've always got to be nice and respectful and helpful. And you're there for the guest service. So courteous. Inefficiency. Don't waste time, don't waste money, don't waste energy. Do it as well, as quickly, and as efficient as possible. But everything, safety. Safety's huge. In fact, I love that they got him on here, be smart, think health. So safety was a big, huge part of it. And you would spend a lot of time going over that. But not just safety as well. You would also cover, of course, standard things like business code of conduct, the employee manual, harassment. Yes, everybody's got to deal with that. So you would get all of these kinds of things, but at the same time, they're constantly having fun, trying to make it exciting, even though some of the stuff is just dreadfully boring. When you're going through all the legalities, like, ugh. But they make it interesting the whole time. You're there pretty much all day. For me, Traditions was an 8-hour-long class. It was a full work day, plus lunch. Now, the nice thing was, when they broke for lunch, you actually got to go over to the cafeteria there. It wasn't real expensive. In fact, as I recall, I think it was probably the cheapest lunch that we got the whole time working at Disney. Because the rest of their employee cafeterias weren't real cheap. But it was a pretty decent meal. You got to know several people. I do remember in my Traditions class, there were 2 other brand new photographers. So there were a couple people you got to know fairly early on. And they try to make sure that once you're through Traditions, you are familiar with the company and its goals and its policies and procedures and everything that they want to do. Now, there are other things that happen. You get lots of information. For example, you get the services for guests with disabilities. There's a whole time that they talk about guests with disabilities and how do you interact with them? What do you do with them? How can you be more aware and more able to help? And you go through this whole booklet, and again, this is all proprietary stuff, but there's things in here about service animals and mobility disabilities and general information. So that way you are more aware of what somebody with a disability is going through and experiencing and how can you make the experience the best for them. This is where they tell you, make sure that you talk to the person with the disability, not to the family that are with them and to pretend that they're not there. Something as simple as that, but yes, they do cover that. You talk about, let's see, there's the confidentiality agreement that I mentioned. So yes, you get that and you get a copy of it. Conflict of interest policy, because this would be one of the reasons I can't work at Walt Disney World anymore, is because I'm doing YouTube videos. It actually would create a conflict of interest. Because if I'm wanting to be non-biased about my videos, well, there may be times I say something that's not quite so nice about Disney that they don't like. But if I'm working for them, there would be a conflict of interest. It doesn't work that way. Or if I was working for another company or had participation with a company that was also making money off Disney, that affected my other job. You don't want to do things like that. So they got a whole thing like that. You also talk about other things like the Disney Learning Center. And this is actually the very first calendar I got here with other classes that you could take. Career Insight, Spotlight on Guest Relations, and Labor Operations. There are classes, behind the scenes tours of Haunted Mansion, Mickey's Magical Milestones, the Keys to the Kingdom. So yes, you could actually take these tours free or at an extremely reduced cost for cast members. There were computer classes, talk about South Africa and learn cultural representatives, sign language, all sorts of different things that you could take at the Disney Learning Center. And most of those classes were actually held at Disney University, which we happened to be at. They would hand you information about other job openings and recruiting. And of course, one of the things that we loved as new cast members, discounts. And yes, this is actually the first discount book I got at Traditions, with all the different discounts at different businesses, advertising, and different things that you could be aware of. As a cast member, you might be able to get a discount. You learned when you were around Orlando that if you had your ID, you just walked up to some place when you're checking out or cashing out and, hey, do you have any discounts for Disney cast members? Worst they could say was no, but it was amazing how many places had some sort of discount. You just got in the habit of asking. After you've gone through all of that stuff, they also made sure that you got your picture taken for your ID. I've actually got mine hiding right there. I gotta hide my little number, but that was my ID, and even on the back of it, there is the little Safety Begins With Me logo that you get so used to. So you would get your ID card processed, you'd pick it up a couple days later, and then at the end of your class, there were two big highlights. One, you got your name tag. Yes, you are now officially a Disney cast member. Fully fledged, they're sitting on the table and they hand them out to you at the end saying that you've completed Traditions. And then if you were lucky, you might actually get handed that by a certain special someone. Mickey actually made an appearance at most Traditions classes. Honestly, it's been long enough, I don't remember him being at mine. He might have been, and I just kind of blanked, because that happens when you get older. But I don't remember Mickey being at mine, but he did make an appearance at most Traditions classes. So you get your first opportunity to meet Mickey, and hey, shake the hand of the boss, because he's the one signing your paychecks. Really. Work for Mickey. That's why we say we work for the mouse. But Traditions was a lot of fun. It was a great introduction to the company. They took all the stuff that you would normally cover in an employee orientation and covered all of that, but also did so much more. Again, with those focuses, you spent a good amount of time talking about safety. You spent a big amount of time talking about courtesy. You talked a big amount of time about show. Really, show was probably one of the biggest emphasis for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't realize how to kind of make it up as you go to keep that image up. But between all four of those keys, you really got a good idea of what it meant to be a Disney cast member. You learned about some of the fun, you learned about the attitude, the culture, the excitement, and, hey, I'm now part of Disney. But you also got a very good feel of being part of the company and the fact that you were now part of it. Now, after Disney Traditions, we then got signed up for a tour of the parks we were working in. I was over at Magic Kingdom, so we got together a couple days later before the park opened as a big tour group, and we toured Magic Kingdom just brand new cast members. That was a lot of fun. Got to look around, got a feel for the park and where things were. Got to ride a couple rides as the tour group. We then went over to the Grand Expo at the end of that tour, and at the time there was a big theater in the back, and we sat down into the theater, and then they began to call us out and have our new managers or somebody from our department come meet us and take us back to our new headquarters. There were a couple of us who were brand new photographers, and so we got to meet and then head down to where our base was, down underneath Main Street. And that was kind of a wrap-up of Traditions, and hey, at that point, now you're really into the training and ready to go. So, have you been to Traditions, or what was your experience like? What would you like to know about it? Is there some answers I might be able to give you? Again, there's some things I can't show you because of that non-disclosure, but it was definitely a bit different than most orientation classes. So I'd love your feedback. Please share it in the comments below. Got somebody who's thinking about being a cast member, or are you getting ready to go? Want to know what Traditions like? Well, hey, don't forget to share and forward the video on to them. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you haven't. Thank you as well to my patrons for supporting me. I love my patrons. They help support me in so many ways and make this possible. If you want to know more about Patreon, or my fan pages, or the group pages, or Discord, or Reddit, or merchandise, please don't forget to check the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless. Okay, this is traditions. Tradition. I know I'm not a good Tevier. Oh well. That's when you first get your first... After you had gone through all of that stuff, we then were called out. We actually went into the... oh gosh, what's the name of the theater? It's not Opera House, that's Silver Dollar City. If you want to know whenever I have a new video out, well, hey, make sure you hit that button right there and subscribe. If you want to see another video right now, well, I've got a great one right here for you. And if you want to be like these wonderful people here and help support me financially on Patreon, well, check out that link right there and it'll take you to it. Thanks so much, and God bless.